Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast. Now, what was I talking about? I'm V Noir. Oh my God, I'm like, I was like, who am I? What am I? What is an intro? I am V Noir, and this week I am singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling! I'm happy again. I just rewatched that movie this time at the Oakland Grand Lake Theater for their 100th birthday celebration. So throughout the day, they're playing Singing in the Rain, The Wizard of Oz, and Fantasia for free. So you could just walk in. It was actually really funny because someone that I know, I ran into someone that I knew working the ticketing area. So, and we were just chatting. I was there with my roommate, my friend, and we were just chatting with him. And it was kind of funny seeing people come in and they're like, and I don't have to pay. It's like, wow, no one's used to having free things. It's kind of funny. But somehow, okay, I didn't mean to take a break, but I was trying to watch this movie called We Strangers, and I got through half of it, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore. And because I was trying to force myself to finish it, and I really just could not. I really couldn't. I might come back to it just to see how it concludes, but I was just like, I can't. There was just like a level of secondhand embarrassment that was too much for me. And the lead actress, apparently I didn't know this was her name, but the lead actress, Kirby Howell Batiste, um, she was in a different movie, and I brought this up when I was talking about Hida. She's in a well, it's a show technically. Well, I had to pause and look it up, and she's not even in the show. I don't know why I thought this woman was her. That's so funny. And now I'm not even gonna bring it up. I think it's because they have very expressive eyes. Either way, she does play Death in the Sandman series that got canceled because Neil Gaiman is an awful person. I'm like, that man needs to go to therapy and get rehabilitated or something, but he is the kind of person who is a victim turn perpetrator because the shit that he's gone through with his parents being Scientologists and and Scientologists believing that children are just small adults when that is not the case. And I say that because when a child apparently does something wrong, they are given the same level of treatment that an adult would have. And yeah, I don't know. I just remember reading that article that came out that was talking about his abuses against these women. And how, like, I guess one of the punishments in Scientology is like having someone like lick clean a floor or something. Like, there's that level of bad shit. And what is it? The house at the end of the lane is apparently the closest thing he's written to um something that's like semi autobiographical. And I've read a bunch of his stuff prior to his allegations and whatnot. And so if something like The House at the End of the Lane is semi based on his lived reality, then like, yeah, there's like a scene where the character's dad tries to kill him. And I'm like, oh, is that something that happened to you, Neil? Is that something? Why did I even bring him up? I don't remember. But yeah, so I was trying to watch We Strangers, and there's just like this level of secondhand embarrassment that I really could not get past. Like, I just had to like pause it so much, and I'm like, I can't, because the movie to kind of get into it a little bit because I mean, even though I didn't really finish the whole thing, I like it was getting somewhere. She was also in the good place as one of Chidi's love interests when they get sent back to Earth and then brought back to the afterlife. It's like a later season. Um We Strangers is on Amazon. Amazon. So I'll read the synopsis there. Because I'm like, Amazon synopsises, nope, we're going to pause. I brought it back to Amazon and then it was like, oh, you want to continue watching where you left off? No, don't. Anyway, so at least the synopsis. In a gritty Gary, Indiana, quick-witted cleaner Rael takes a strange new job that spirals into the surreal when she claims she can speak to the dead. After her lie spins into power, secrets, and chaos, Ray must decide how far she'll go to hold onto control. We Strangers is a darkly funny, sharp, slice of life story about identity, power, and the quiet lines that divide us. And I'm like, that sounds interesting. I wanted to like it. And I remember I was trying to watch it over a few days, and I'm like, I'm also like, can you tell that I have a level of dyslexia because I had to pause to figure out where I was because my eyes were like on the screen. This is why it's hard for me to read fan fiction. I can't do it. I would have to print it out, but I don't want to waste paper printing out something that ends up being awful. And I know that some fan fiction is just awful, but you love it, because wow. Awful as in good, not awful as in bad. But I'm like, I don't want to run into something that's awful, awful as in bad. Um, you know, and I don't really believe in people's recommendations sometimes because I'm like, we might have differing levels of what is considered good and what is considered bad. And I'm like, you need to explain to me if this is good in a bad way or if it's good in a good way. Because then I'll set expectations, right? Uh, but yeah, I'm like, I still have 41 minutes left because I got to a certain part and I'm like, okay, so she lives in this like town that's more than likely predominantly white. She's working a lot. She's helping her friend? Question mark? Because I'm like, is that like her girlfriend or her girlfriend? And her mom get to work. She's a cleaner. And then she floats the idea that she's a psychic to this white lady and then gets $100 out of her to do a reading. And then we kind of see that she might have some sort of psychic abilities that she can tap into. So it's not like it's a complete farce or anything like that, but she it just her interactions with these white people. I'm just like, "Oh, this is so awkward. Why is this so awkward? I don't like this." And yeah, I had to keep pausing. And I was like, I can't force myself to finish a movie just so I can talk about this movie. And it's like I paused it right before it got to her um being psychic and stuff the first time, and it was like maybe 15 minutes in. And then I came back to it and I was like, "Oh, okay, it's getting more interesting." And then it was just awkward again and I was like, I can't I'm picking up the secondhand embarrassment. I can't do this. The secondhand awkwardness. I can't do it. And so yeah, I just had to pause. I had to be like, okay, so I need to watch movies in theaters again. Like I just have to because I need to be stuck in a room where I can't pause it if it gets too intense or too awkward. I can't pause it to look at my phone and get distracted. And I typically am a person that, unless it's like a podcast or it's like Smosh or something, And even with Smosh, it's like if I've watched this already, I don't typically try to have something on in the background while I'm like scrolling on my phone. I don't do that because I want to give things, especially like television or movies that I'm streaming, like my undivided attention because I'm like, this interests me. I want to know everything, like I want to see the costume designing, the small glances between people, the subtext that could be happening between these characters that I would miss otherwise if I was looking at my phone while scrolling. So there was things like that. And so I had to pause, had to think about that. Think about the fact that I should just be going to the theater and watching stuff, going back to the theater and doing my matinee shit because I love matinee. And so, and I'm also like, I'm trying not to miss things in theaters. So right now I want to see Pillion, which I will probably watch in a few days and talk about it next week. And I want to watch Baby Girl, which I think is on streaming, and compare the two because I'm like, okay, submissive woman, submissive man. It's not submissive man in the way that I like, but it is a submissive guy, so we will see. And maybe I'll watch The Secretary as well, just to compare it to Baby Girl. I don't know, because I also want to see The Bride, which is Maggie Gyllenhaal's new film that just came out as well. So many things. Anyway, so I ended up watching like 3 movies, 2 in theaters, 1 at home. So I watched. Oh my god, the title just like escaped my brain. Wow. But yeah, so I just watched the movie Blades of the Guardians, which is officially my first movie in theaters of the year. I'm like, oh damn. It took me all the way to the Oh no, I saw it the first day of March actually. So not even February, first day of March. It came out for Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, depending on what region you're in. And I was excited for it. Um Mainly because I'm like, oh, action, Jet Li's in it. And I was like, I think I might have talked about this in a previous episode. I don't remember. But I was like, I love Jet Li. I was thinking about him recently because I was like, oh, it's been a minute since I've seen him in anything. And I wondered what he was doing. And he's got like a YouTube channel where he's talking about um meditation and stuff, I think. Let me look. What's his YouTube? Yeah, like this video on his YouTube is from like a month ago. So he like literally just made his YouTube like a month ago. And I was like, yeah, like I love Jet Li. Uh the 2 big movies that live with me that starred him are Romeo Must Die, which was like a modern telling of Romeo and Juliet with Aaliyah playing Juliet, and it's like that's amazing. And then the other one literally is called The One, which is this multiverse film where there's like there's a multiverse and Jet Li's character, like one of him, is jumping over universes and killing the other versions of him in order to become more powerful. And then there's a different him that kind of finds out about this, and it's a little convoluted, but love that movie as well. So it's like those are 2 big movies from my childhood that I remember that he was in. And then there's always like this sort of level of black cinema and kung fu, like black Chinese, uh, American specifically, um, overlap that just happens as well. So there is, like, I do have a love for like kung fu movies and stuff. Although there are some classics that I haven't seen. Um, but yeah, so I was like, "Oh, how's he doing?" I'm like, "Oh, he definitely looks older. He's wearing glasses." And I'm like, "But he looks good. He looks healthy." And um and he had stated that he had retired from movies, and then I saw the trailer for Blades of the Guardians and he's in that, and I was like, "Oh, shit. Well, I guess you're not retired anymore." He's getting too old for this shit. But uh so I was just excited to see that. It came out for Chinese New Year, like February 17th. I think it's still in theaters at this point. I did have to kind of travel to a theater to get to it. I forget that AMC is owned by like a, actually, you know what? Let me not say something and it's not true. Let me pause. Okay, so I wasn't technically wrong. I was just more outdated information. But the Chinese conglomerate group, Wanda Group, owned, like, had a majority stake in it, so it had most of the controlling power of AMC theaters. And in my mind, that justified that uh, AMC as a theater chain having Chinese movies available. But since like 2021, Wanda Group doesn't necessarily have as much of a stake and claim and control over AMC. But I don't think, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool because AMC is such a big chain, and for them to play what is considered foreign films, because not only like when I worked there in like 2018, was it 2018? I worked there till 2018. There we go. But there would be Chinese movies that would play. There would be Indian movies that would play. Um, Usually they wouldn't be there for that long, and it would also kind of happen, like they would happen throughout the year. But they would happen even more so during times in which the big like Marvel movies weren't happening or something. So they would stay there for a while and then be pushed to a smaller theater and probably gone in like a week when big Hollywood blockbusters would come out. Because what happens is um, when a big or a movie that is being anticipated to be big and wanting to be seen by a bunch of people comes out, a lot of the smaller movies get pushed to the much smaller theaters and then tossed aside within like a week, which is unfortunate. So definitely, if you're like, if you see something that doesn't feel like it's a big Hollywood movie, um, and you think it's gonna be good, and maybe it's indie, maybe it's a smaller production. If you see it, definitely just go watch it, because there is really no way to know how long it'll be out in theaters because of the thing that happens with when these like big movies come out, which is so unfortunate. But yeah, so, and this was playing at the AMC's for a bit, and then it got pushed out a little bit. So I was like, okay, let's try to find this at a different theater, hopefully. And I only prolonged watching it because I was able to find it at a different cinema, Cinemark or Century Theaters specifically, and it had way more show times than the AMC's as well. So I was like, okay, cool, I can catch it. And I did. But let me get into the synopsis. So, Dalma, a bounty hunter, takes a job to protect a man on the long road to the city of Chang'an. However, he discovers the person he is protecting is the Empire's most wanted bounty, the Shi Lang. Now every greedy faction is after them. And so I tried not to watch the trailer. Oh no. Oh no. Um oh, there we go. Okay. I had turned the mic down on accident. But yeah, so I tried not to go too far into like the um trailer or anything like that. I didn't want to get too spoiled. So what ends up happening is like Doma is he's a bounty hunter, like I just said. He goes around with a child with him while he's doing bounties, which is interesting. Uh, but yeah, so the first bounty we see him go after, like he comes to this hotel and he's like, "Oh, have you seen this man?" And I'm like, "Oh wait, no, sorry. He goes to a tavern." Why am I calling it a tavern? I don't know. A bar. It's like, huh? Where am I? I'm like, that's very Western of me to call this a tavern, but it's like a bar, essentially. And the child is going around with the bounty. I'm like, these bounties are drawn really well, even though there's like no detail whatsoever. You can tell who this person is supposed to be, which is really funny to me. And the child goes around and finds his bounty, and he rather than capturing his bounty, he does attack him and beats him essentially. Um it does get pretty bloody in this movie now that I think about it, because I'm like, he stabs him in the hand. And I'm like, oh, that was a lot. There's a lot of fun wire work too, a lot of fun fight choreography that happens as well. I'm like, I love a good fight choreography moment. I'm like, so many uhs from me. I'm like, I'm trying to remember what happened in this movie. And so rather than capturing this guy, he's like, why don't you pay me 30 times the amount of your bounty and I'll let you go? And he gives him the money. And this is my first time, because I knew about like Chinese coins and everything and how there's a hole in it, but I was like, oh my god, this is so smart. I'm like, oh man, I just don't know any. I mean, I don't know that much about Chinese culture, but I just thought it was cool that you could essentially loop these with like a string or something, because of the hole in the center. I was like, oh, this is very cool. I'm like, I don't know, that feels so nerdy or something. I don't know. But I was just like, whoa, such innovation. So such a fun way to like carry your money, and you can just group it together so you have this set amount of money. And so his next bounty, he's looking for someone, and there is a general of some kind. He's like the mayor or something. That ends up being Jet Li. And I'm like, ah, it's Jet Li. Nice. I don't think you're a main character, so I don't know what's gonna happen here. But so the hotel owner, who's kind of wimpy and gets like beat up by the officials who are like, you gotta pay rent and all this stuff, you're behind. He ends up being the guy who um Delma was looking for. And I was like, yeah, of course he is, because that he's on the run. Of course he would settle down somewhere, grow out his hair and facial hair and start a family and not do the things that have him wanted before, So he's like this double snake guy, and he uses two blades. And he's like, and he essentially awakens himself because they go from trying to beat up him to beating on his son and wife and insinuating that they're gonna like rape her or whatever. And he's like, you can fuck with me all you want, but you're not gonna fucking do this to my family. And then, and then his son is like, "Oh my god, my dad was a badass this whole time," because the son was also just like, "Why are you so wimpy, Dad? I hate you," and all this stuff. And so Dolma and this guy team up and they fight against Jet Li. So there's this like ultimate cool fight sequence between Jet Li and Dolma and this guy. But Jet Li's character ultimately dies, unfortunately, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, you were like the landlord. You weren't gonna live. And it didn't make sense. Like, he was trying to recruit Doma because he knew that he was from like this cavalry group that used to work for the emperor. Like, he used to work for the emperor. He was like the left hand of the emperor, and uh is on the run because of it. So he's a fugitive in his own right. And now he ends up killing Jet Li's character, and that gives him his own bounty, but he's the second most wanted person. And he runs off to this village that um the chief there wants him to take the person that I mentioned, the Zishi Lang guy, to a different. Essentially, the city that they're going to is where the emperor lives, and he needs to get taken there because he is. I don't know. I guess not that he's a communist, but he has very lofty ideas. He wants everyone to be equal. There's a whole he kind of has like a cult following essentially, that people believe in him. They want to see the flower road blossom. That's kind of the name of it. Also, let me just rewind and say that this movie is based on a webcomic as well, and I think it has a animated film. I'm like, it is Chinese, so there's like specific words for the Chinese, like Chinese comics, Chinese animated things and whatnot. Even this style of movie is called something in China. But so there's multiple volumes of this, and I say that because this is only like, it is a movie. It's a 2-hour movie, and so we get one aspect of it. And I will say right now that yes, he goes to try to deliver this guy, um, but the movie doesn't end with that delivery happening. And what I liked about this was, even though it was 2 hours, it didn't necessarily drag for too long. Because sometimes when I'm watching a longer movie, I will feel as though I've been there for a while. And I'm like, okay, so when is this over? Like, I never had that like inclination to be like, okay, so when is this ending? Because I am tired. And in the very beginning, well, not even just the very beginning, but you are introduced to a bunch of different characters and subplots, and you get exposition on things throughout the movie. And I feel like loose ends end up getting tied up with the main thing, the him getting delivered to this city, not actually getting resolved, which kind of feels more like sequel bait. But I would say, especially because this is a journey through a desert, that I was kind of reminded of Mad Max Fury Road in that, and how that was like basically a journey, and then they end up going back. And it's kind of, it's similar to that in um aesthetically as well. Like, these are both gorgeous films. I was seeing something about how this kind of is also similar to The Mandalorian, and I guess I could see that as well, but I didn't watch that. I'm okay with Star Wars. I was gonna say I don't fuck with Star Wars, but Star Wars is whatever to me. I just wish, um, like I understand liking villains and whatnot, but I wish that people who partaked in watching Star Wars as entertainment were more influenced to I don't know, go against a fascist government. I guess I don't know. But going back to this, it's so because we have that first bounty that happens before the thing that causes him to have his own bounty. We do get a level of like um familiarity with this character and who he is, and people are hinting at him being this really good swordsman and stuff, which is really cool. And also we also get, I don't know what my point was, but to kind of go back to the plot, so Jet Li's character dies. He's the governor or whatever. The double-headed snake? I'm like, I wish I wrote these characters' names down while I was in the theater. Because, oh, the two-headed snake. Okay, there we go. Two-headed snake dies. The son is there, and it's just like, Father, no. I don't know why I said it like that. But it was really sad, and he's like, "Damn, I just found out that you were cool as shit, and now you died, and I could have learned how to, defend myself and whatnot." And um, so that creates a branch plot. This son and wife of the man who died. So that's like one branching off plot point that gets addressed throughout the film. It's in the background, but it's not like the main thing. And because, Doma killed this governor, now he's on the run. He makes it to a different village, like I was saying. And this is how he gets the mission to take that guy to that city. But I wasn't forgetting. I was just like, I couldn't remember her name. But the chieftain's daughter, uh, uh, Ayuya, 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 Ayuya. She is insistent on going with Delma because she wants to make it to this city that she's never been to because she's never left her village like that. And the chieftain insists on it as well because Delma is like, no, you shouldn't leave. And we find out that she was engaged to this other guy, but she didn't want to actually go through with it. It's kind of hinted that she might have a crush on Doma. He definitely doesn't see her in this way. The fact that he goes out of his way to be like, kiddo, get out of here. You're such a kid. Like he really doesn't see her as like anything other than like a very young person. And I wouldn't say that, like, it's kind of hinted that she likes him, but it could easily be just like she admires him, but isn't like attracted to him in that way. And so I'm trying to. Oh, yes, I do remember what happens to her. So she goes with him. She also like saves his ass with her men when he's getting chased by the governor's men because she's one of the people. She's a archer. I'm like, I love fucking archery. She's an archer and she very good shot just in general. She's phenomenal. And she saves his ass. So she's like, "Yeah, I'm not dead weight. What the fuck are you talking about?" And she goes off. It's her and her friend Annie, uh who is also an archer. They're together and it's the guy whose name I keep forgetting. Zishi Lang, Zishi Lang, Zishi Lang. That's me trying to remember, not trying to pronounce it. um, Zishi Lang, who has this really cool like mask and facial makeup, and I think because of anime, I was like, oh, is he gonna be this like super powerful man? And it's like, no, he's actually very wimpy and very like peace, love, and no, he's very wimpy. He's also just very eccentric. I'm like, oh, he's out here. um but he's kind of yeah, he's funny. He's funny. He's just like, oh my god, yeah. So I remember when they were traveling and running away from other people because again, he is the most wanted man now, and then Dolma is the second most wanted man. So even though people are after him, now that he has the number one most wanted man, they're gonna go for that person first instead. And so we have them on their journey. They're rushing off, and in the background we flip back to the son wife scenario. They're kind of still there. The governor's people show up again, and these two characters show up as well. One of them looks similar to Delma. His name is D10, and he is actually looking for Dolma, but not in a friendly way. Even though they look very similar, he actually is trying to kill him. And it's him and this woman who I think they were just calling her like the one-eyed something. Yeah, they just call her One Eye. They didn't give her a name really. She's badass. She does have just like an eye patch on one eye, but she has this like, if you think of, I don't know what it's called, but similar like how Wolverine's like claws essentially, like they're very sharp. She has some she has like an attachment like that she can just pull out. And so she uses that to like kill this man in front of the wife, and then both Detain and her kill all these people because they're looking for Dolma, and I think they just got in the way. So this freaks out the son and wife duo, and they're like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't stay here anymore. Maybe we should go. They also end up heading to the village. And then the village is going through stuff at this point because the village is a part of a few other villages, like a community of villages where all the chiefs come together. They're in a treaty, I guess. I'm like, what is it called? They are in agreement with each other where they don't, mess with each other. Maybe they protect each other, whatnot. They're in an agreement in that way. So they come together. They're told um that the emperor wants Zishilang, and that they wanted to see if all the chieftains were in support or not, and then if they weren't, they would be killed essentially. And this fucker, who is the ex fiance of Ayue, Ayuye, um, he's awful because he is an Asian man with dreads. That's how you know he's a villain. Because he's an Asian man with dreads. I was like, oh no, oh no. Um, God, he was like a cockroach too. Because I was just like, because I hated him, and he would get close to death, and then he wouldn't die, and I was like, I hate this. I hate this man. Kill him. Why can't he die? Kill him. Um, Actually, what's really interesting, because he does die in the end, thankfully. What is interesting is that he describes to Yuye how when he was younger, a shaman gave him a fortune that um he would have 5 feathers and like a fiery crown. And so he took that to mean that he would, rule over all their lands essentially. And I was like, we even get this sort of thing closed up, because in the end he dies with Ayuye stabbing him with 5 arrows, five five arrows. I got really confused for a second because I was like, wait, is it arrows or arrowheads? And it's like, no, an arrowhead is just the one part. No, but it's arrows, like a bow and arrow. He gets stabbed with 5 arrows and his head was on fire. Like, I was like, oh shit, this is why you. I mean, that was a literal thing that this woman said. But it is still pretty like on the nose, because sometimes, like with predictions and divination, you it's open to interpretation. Like some things can mean one thing or another. Like you just never know with stuff. But I was like, that was a literal thing. And so as he's dying, he's like, 5 feathers, a fiery crown. And I was like, damn, we even got this closed up too. Crazy. And to go back, this guy's a bitch, a bastard. I hate him. He's like a cockroach. He didn't die easily. He even gets squashed at some point by this like really big, adorable guy who's kind of a hembo. And Ayuye is like, look what happened to your siblings. Like, do you want this to happen to you? Like, you think for yourself. He's like, you know what? I will. And he like tries to squash this fucker, and he still doesn't die. It's like, this motherfucker die. Um, but let me think. Where was I? So yeah, so now the son wife duo are in this village that Ayuye's dad is the chieftain of, but because the her dad is against turning in and trying to find Z Lang, especially because he was the one that sent him off with Dolma. So now, because he's against what everybody else wants, her ex-fiance takes it upon himself to attack that village and kill her dad. And I was like, wow, so you're even worse than I thought. And they do meet up with the group. Oh, at this point, Zishi Lang complains about horseback riding because he's like, I'm not used to this rough traveling. And they see a horse and carriage situation. And he's like, oh my God, please take us. And then inside is like another bounty hunter and his prisoner. And he's like, actually, never mind, I'm good. So there's like comedic moments like that, which are really fun. And the guy in the carriage, his name is Wikipedia is saying Shu. I don't remember his name being Shu. It was like Jade Eyed Ghost or something. I mean, that was probably his name, but he had another name and he wasn't. Also, okay, I have to complain about this. I do have some complaints, but this man's hair was like the most obviously a wig, and that bothered me throughout the whole thing. And you know how I love a man with long hair, and this guy was cool, but that fucking hair was a wig. It was stiff. The part was crazy. And I'm like, all this costuming, all this like level of detail and everything with the costuming and stuff. And you're telling me you give the other main character an awful wig? Also, there were some parts in the very, very beginning where like Doma and maybe another character look at the camera and stuff, and I was like, you're looking into my soul now. But I was just like, I got a little distracted with that. And then I had to get used to the wire work that happens in a lot of these movies again because I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't seen one of these kinds of movies in a while. And I was like, okay, let's adjust. Let's adjust. It's wire work, but it looks cool. And honestly, I'm like, yes, have wire work because, ooh, yes, have people in wires because that helps with safety. And I think about someone like Jackie Chan, who way in like the 80s, um, he'd be like, yeah, no, hit me for real. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that at all, you guys. Like, please, safety first. You only have one body. Stunts are fine as long as you're doing it with, safety in mind. I'm like, wow, that kind of rhymed. Oh my God, I need to stop. But I'm like, I don't remember his name being Shu, but that's what Wikipedia is telling me. And so at first because he's a bounty hunter and he's like, he was suspicious of Dolma, but because he was trying to find this woman for the longest time, which is Yan Xin Xiniang. Xiniang? Interesting. Actually, I don't. She's like crafty or whatever. I don't know fully what. She just seems like she's like an acrobatic, uh, promiscuous woman who uses like her sexual prowess to like either rob and or murder men. And I'm like, can a girl have fun? No, but I was like, she seems kind of cool and interesting. It's hella funny too because Shu thinks that Dolma and Ayuya are like married and that the child is their child together, and he's just like, what do you mean you're a bounty hunter and you're traveling with your family? That's weird. And Dolma doesn't deny any of these things. I think Ayuya says something, but Dolma's just like, you can believe whatever you want, man. I don't care. And so at some point, Shu, because they do get ambushed by like more guards or whatever, trying to get uh Zushi Lang. Woo, I remembered his name properly. And so at that point, Shu is also helping because he's like, the fuck? Why are these people coming after us? I mean, I know you have a bounty, whatever. And then he finds on one of the people a bounty for Doma, and he's like, oh, so this is what I missed and what you weren't going to tell me. It's like, why would he tell you that? You're also a bounty hunter. But yeah, so later on in the night, Shu decides to kind of turn on them and try to defeat Dolma so he could get the bounty on Dolma and also the Zishi Lang bounty as well. So he can have more money. He's money motivated. And Dolma is like, they're because it is the desert and everything, they're like they make it somewhere where there's like these puddles of oil everywhere, and so this is like it's nighttime, it's a fiery fight scene. Super, it looks really cool. And Shu ends up being in like a pool of the oil covered and everything, and Doma his like sword is on fire, and he points it at Shu, but he doesn't kill him because I'm like, that's like an instant, you're set on fire type shit. But he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. He just defeats him, but he's like, I'm not going to kill you. You're useful. And they end up going to a village that's nearby. And by this point, it's early morning. That is where Aunt Annie's aunt stays, and they're like a village of people who are kind of on the run, I guess. And there's like a blacksmith there. There's all kind of stuff there. And of course, Shu throws himself in the water, which is hella funny. And Trying to remember because I think at some point we during this journey. I mean, this is also like it's during that period of time. When you learn about like the Silk Road, like this is a part of the Silk Road route as well. Like they're on it, and that shit was dangerous. You did have to have people. Oh, it was really cool because the chieftain that is Ayuya's dad, one of his bodyguards was this African man, and I was like, "Ooh, look at that!" I always kind of think that's funny, like to be someone foreign in another country and be. I would like to say tokenized, but I don't mean it in like a negative way. Like I feel like that would be kind of fun to get jobs in that way because they're like, I'm looking for a foreign person to be in our production, and you live here, and you also know Mandarin. Perfect. But I thought it was cool because I'm like, yeah, the that's like a historically accurate of trade and travel. Like people in Africa would also be a part of the Silk Road. That was definitely a thing. And like people were connected in the past. Um, like people be acting like knowing that other races of people existed is a relatively new thing, and it's like no, it's not because people traveled at all points in time. Like that is just a thing. Yeah, I was like, let me remember to say that because I was like, yeah, that's cool. And it was, and he seemed to have a good relationship with the chieftain as well. Like they trusted each other, and he was like, "I'm gonna protect you." I actually don't remember what happened to him. Yeah, I'm not really sure what happens to the chieftain's bodyguard. I mean, we don't even really see the chieftain die as well, but Ayuya's ex fiance shows up in front of the group, and this is like after the conflict between Shu and Doma, and they are leaving that village that Ani's aunt was a part of. They get confronted by Ayuya's ex fiance. He's like, I got a gift for you. Here, show her. And it's fucking her dad's head, severed head. And I'm like, it was literally that what's in the box scene. But yeah, I was just like, "Oh, so you're terrible and a coward." Because he wouldn't actually try to fight. He would send people to fight for him. And I'm like, people aren't going to respect you. Like, money can only go so far, but if people don't respect you, when it gets down to it, money won't be enough and they will abandon you and you will be left by yourself. Like, respect goes so much further than money ever will, which I think also kind of comes back to that idea of like you can't buy your friends really. Like people either like you or not like you. Keeping people around with your money kind of creates like shallow relationships. So just be a likable person. I mean, yeah, just be a likable person. It's fine. Grow a personality, watch things, talk about stuff, introduce yourself to people. When you're in an environment where that's okay. Because I, I don't know, isthetism, but I'm like, I don't, I'm always like, blah, 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 in my brain. If somebody started talking to me while I'm like walking down the street, I'd be like, whoa, this is I'm walking down the street time. Did not expect to interact with anybody. Like I can't my brain doesn't transition to that. But either way, so now they fight. Dolma, Ayuya. Ayuya is like enraged, of course, because what the fuck? And this guy's still like, but you're my fiance still, right? And it's like, the fuck? What's wrong with you? Like, why would you do this? and you want her to marry you? Like, are you okay in the head? Like, what the fuck? Like, oh, this is a perfect way. This is a perfect wedding gift. Her fucking dad's head. He's awful. But yeah, so all of them fight. All the heirs of the other clans are there, and Dolma defeats them. And the current chiefs show up while this is happening, and they become enraged too because they're like, honestly, it's kind of fucked up because the Wikipedia is saying that Dolma defeats them, but the ex fiance is the one that has his men turn on them and kill them, but he tricks the clans leaders into believing that Dolma killed them, and it's like, no, he didn't. He might have killed some of them, but not all of them. That was you. You're instigating shit. And so they rush off with their bounties and everything, these people in tow, and then there's a sandstorm, and Dolma's like, we're gonna rush into the sandstorm. And everybody's like, the fuck? And at the same time, One Eye and D10 show up as well, and they're trying to get Dolma. And he's like, oh fuck. So many people after Dolma, and, you know, all the stuff. The sandstorm stuff was really cool. I mean, there is wire work here going on, but it makes sense because it's a sandstorm, it's windy, it's so much wind that you would be picked up essentially. And Doma has to use his like sword to keep himself level. It's crazy. And so Zishin Lang and the nephew, and I'm calling him nephew because I'm about to finally get into the backstory of the child that he has been with. Do do do. And the other bounty are in the wagon, and the horses go that way, and they kind of get overturned a little bit because we see um the end, the aftermath of the sandstorm. I don't know why I started talking like that. And so Doma is worried because he doesn't see his nephew in sight, and then he does, and I'm like, perfect. But Ayuye is missing. Crazy. Her ex fiance stole her, brought her back to that fucking village. I mean, I don't know why I said that. No, the village is awesome. The ex fiance fucking sucks. That's what I meant to say. And so to get into, we do get backstory of the nephew. I think it happens before this battle. I can't fully remember, but we also see why D10 is going after Dolma because because Dolma's sister was married to a disposed prince, and she just gave birth to the nephew. And the emperor had decided to kill off that bloodline, which included Dolma's sister and his now freshly born nephew. Well, I can't remember if he was like a baby or like a young toddler. I can't remember fully. Either way, he's young. And again, because Dolma at that point was working as the left hand of the emperor and took orders no matter what, whether it was killing children or, the elderly, he would do it. But he couldn't do it when it came down to killing his own nephew. And so that's how he ended up betraying that, like, cavalry and the emperor and stuff, and being on the run from that. But there wasn't a bounty for him. He was just like on exile. And at that point, D10 had helped him escape, and the right hand of the emperor showed up, and they're like, hey, why didn't y'all do the thing? Da, da. And D10 was on his side and everything like that, but then it just ended up being bad all around because everyone else a part of the team ended up getting killed. And so D10 is coming after Dolma to seek revenge. And yeah, so that's why D10 and I was gonna call her Left Eye. One Eye. 'Cause I'm like, is it her left eye or right here? I think it is her left eye. But either way, that's why they're after Dolma because of what happened in the past. And yeah, we find out that his nephew is actually a prince. Yeah, because his sister was married to royalty, but she got killed, unfortunately. And so Dolma gets to a certain point with Shu and Zixin Lang, and they're gonna take this boat to get to the next point, like the town and everything like that. And Dolma is like, I can't travel with you further than this. Here is money that is more than my bounty, so you don't go after me. And all this stuff. And Dolma decides to go back to the village to save Ayuya from her ex fiance, who is a terrible person. And it jumps to the him being in the village, the ex fiance being awful, and Zixu Lang showing up as well. Oh wait, no, Zixu Lang is like, if I can't save one person, then what was the point in all this? So he decides to come with Dolma back to the village, and they end up. At first, I was like, "Oh, Zixu Lang is actually a badass. Look at that!" Because he starts fighting and helping Dolma fight against the ex fiance's guards and stuff. Because again, the ex fiance doesn't fight; he sends others to fight for him. This man's so annoying, but he ends up being Shu in disguise. And I was like, oh, of course. Of course. And Shu is like, money isn't everything, and I want to help you. And especially like because Dolma could have killed Shu and he decided against it. And then when Shu actually sees Dolma kill, he's like, oh, you really could have killed me. You really could have you really could have killed me, and you really didn't. Like, whoa, you're talented. Oh, okay. Like you're showing mercy here. Okay. And so, but I mean, you see how I'm describing all of this? Like things just keep happening. And we do get those quieter moments where we're getting flashbacks and more exposition. Because we even see a scene where Ayuya's they have to she breaks the engagement, but as is tradition in that part of the land, the father has to walk barefoot in the desert, as the desert has to be witness of their engagement being broken. And so his feet are bleeding. She's like, no, they won't even see you at this point. Like, it's fine. Get up here. And he's like, I have to do this. And, we get this another instance of like this chieftain being someone that cared deeply about his daughter and what his daughter wanted and how he wanted to protect her. I think we were getting that flashback while she's seeing his head and crying about it and stuff. I can't remember. I'm like, so much happens. But I'm like, yeah, no, things just kept progressing. And at some point, Dolma, I'm talking back to the village. Dolma is back in the village, and the people fighting for the ex fiance decide to drop their weapons because they're like, this shit's not worth it. And then Detian shows up and decides to fight Dolma again. Shu stays out of it because he's like, yeah, that's y'all's fight. Dolma does end up defeating Shu. And that was crazy too because he ends up, I'm like, I forget how he gets stabbed, but he does get stabbed, but then pierces the he forces the blade further in him to stab Dichen. Crazy. Crazy. And I'm like, thank God he's like stabbed in a way that isn't like gonna like also instantly like kill him as well. Like it was his shoulder or something. I'm like, damn, this movie bloody. There's a lot going on. Keeps going. And so while Doma is fighting all those people, Ayuye wakes up tied to a bed, and her ex fiance is there. The big tubby guy shows up, and that's when she convinces him to, let her go and make his own decisions. And then the ex fiance shows up, and he's like, "Where'd you go?" And then she starts fighting him. He can fight, I guess, but I guess when he's only fighting a woman, I don't know, misogyny. And then this is when she proceeds to kill him like the shaman said he would end up being. I was like, that was crazy too, because when he was on fire, like his face melted a bit, and I was like, why is this so realistic? Uh, why is this so realistic? And I didn't like seeing his like eyeball melt. That was crazy. That felt like a I'm like, even if that was CGI, that was done really well. And if it was practical, that was also done really well. Don't know how they did that. Uh, but so then, yeah, so she defeats her ex fiance. She becomes the new chieftain of the village. Most of the heirs and the chiefs are gone anyway. So it's like, so she ends up not going with Dolma to the city because, now she's a new chieftain. What is she going to do? She can't leave. She's got to stabilize her village. Dolma and Shu and Zishi Lang and also the nephew are on their way. Shu tells his bounty. He frees his bounty and is like, be on your way. Like, it's fine. And she's like, I want to go with you guys. And she rides off with them on a horse as well. And the movie ends there. And I'm like, yeah, no, that was engaging for all 2 hours. There was definitely, like, there were pauses, of course. Oh, it ends there, but we do see the son from the son wife duo. He's in the village. He gets encouraging words from Dolma and how, like, you have to make your own you have to go on your own journey, figure out your own life, and gain your own skills. And we kind of get the scene where there's these two older guys talking about like, dang, haven't seen a martial arts movie like that in 40 years. The young people really got it, or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's adorable. And then we get the and like, I didn't watch this movie just for this, but we get the Jackson Wang OST in credits that come in at the very end, and it's all very like inspiring and um high energy. There's like a youth choir segment of the song as well. It's very fun. It's a very catchy song. And like I'm like, what are the lyrics? It's like, "Jeez." I'm like, I could do the melody. Yeah. I remember when I first heard that, I was like, that doesn't sound like him. What is this? What is this? What am I hearing? But when I heard it in the theater, I was like, oh no, I can hear him. This is him. So I don't know what I was hearing before, but that didn't sound like him. It almost sounded like um someone had did a recording of how they wanted him to sing it, like the demo essentially. And but the quality was also really good in the theater as well. So I really just was like, I don't know. But yeah, it was a good movie. It just kept going. It didn't really feel like 2 hours, but I did show up at like 10:50 and I got out at like 1 o'clock. So time definitely went by. Like it kept going. That was a movie that was worth the 2 hours. And like I said, we did get loose ends tied up. The only thing that didn't really happen was them actually getting to where they needed to go with Zishi Lang. But it was about the friends you make along the way or whatever. It wasn't about the destination, it was about the journey. And yeah, I watched Singing in the Rain. And then I also, which I love that movie. It's so funny. It's very funny. And if you kind of wanted a bit of a history lesson about the transition from silent film era to talkies, which is what they used to call what movies are now, which is like the talking movies. Uh, that's like a fun way to kind of see it happen because that is like the things that is like the true history that like a lot of silent film era people could not transition over to talking moving pictures because their voices were not pleasing. They weren't good voices, so they kind of fizzled out, unfortunately. But yeah, that movie's so funny. It's so fun, so lighthearted, so colorful. It was shot with Technicolor. So Gene Kelly, he's great. And then the other movie I watched was this Palestinian Indian film called I Can't Think Straight. It's sapphic. It's not only sapphic, it is lesbians, lesbians, lesbians. And I am very interested in watching her other film that stars these same two women, but it's in like a it's in a historical drama sense. I'm like, let me look it up. The movie's from 2008 and the historical drama is from 2007. And to get into, well, actually, before that, let me talk about who created this. Shami Sharaf? Sharaf? Shami Sharaf. Shami Sharaf. I realized I was saying that to the side and not to the mic. But she is also an author, so she wrote this book. She wrote the historical drama book as well. And that one is called, what is it called? The World Unseen, which again, it has these same two lead actresses in it. That one came out a year before this one. And I Can't Think Straight is about a young woman who is getting ready for her upcoming marriage when she meets a shy woman and they find a sexual attraction that the bride to be struggles with. And it's on Tubi. That's how I ended up watching it. I'm like, Tubi really does have these there. I don't know how I would have found this otherwise, because again, it's a Palestinian Indian woman who wrote this, and this came out in 2008. The way they were taking shots at Israel through the way she was taking shots at Israel through some of the characters and what they would say about it, I was just the characters' names are like Tala's the main one who's getting married. This is her fourth engagement. She's always found some sort of fault with her previous fiance, so she's like, yeah, this is the one, I guess. Haha. It wasn't. Audience, it wasn't. But like even Tala's mom is like, I think her fiance works for the government and she's like he's just like, oh well, we can learn things from the Israelis and she's just like, what, how to kill children? I was like, oh, coming in hot. And of course she's like, damn it, why do we send you to the American school, Tala? You become a self-hating Arab. And I was like, ooh, coming from America as well. Tala's mom. And yeah, I'm like 2008, I was definitely pretty young, so I didn't even really know that much about any of the like Palestinian Israeli conflict. I mean, I'm saying conflict, but like, it's a fucking genocide, man. And it's America's satellite government in the Middle East. Like, that is what Israel is. It's nothing other than that. Like, it's just an American satellite country. But, which is fucked up. But either way, what ends up happening is, Tala and Layla, who is the love interest, they end up falling for each other. They have sex. But it is one of those like more sensual sex scenes. Like, we don't see too much. But they were going at it. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And that interaction with Tala makes Layla come to the realization that no, she doesn't want to be with a man. She does have a boyfriend currently. And she's like, "No, I'm actually a lesbian. Thank you. I love you. I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to spend the rest of my life with you." And Tala is like, "Haha, but that's not how anyone should live. Haha." And they end up breaking it off. And they come back to reality with like Tala about to get married to a man. Layla's got a boyfriend and all this stuff. I'm kind of, I mean, that is the general plot, though. It's like they do meet through a mutual friend, Layla's boyfriend, and then Layla's like, she comes out to her parents. Her mom is deeply upset, and she's like, "Who did this to you?" And she's like, "I didn't catch something. This is who I am, and I'm trying to tell you the truth." And the dad is way more accepting of her, and which I loved. Like, both the dads in this movie were way more accepting than the moms of their daughters' sexualities, which I found really fascinating. Because I'm like, I feel like it's usually the well, not that it's usually the opposite. It's usually like the dad is the one that is most vocal, and the mom is like silently in agreement, maybe more accepting, maybe not. Maybe she just like she's more accepting, but behind the father figure's like back or something. And so I will say that they do end up together. It is not one of those movies where it's yearning, pining, sex, and then they don't end up together. No, they do end up together. Tala just has to go through the realization that, like, no, she does want to be with Layla. She does end her engagement the day of their wedding. So fucking funny. And her dad is just like, it's fine. It's totally fine. We can give the food away. It'll be a party. We'll get your uncle to tell some of his stories. It's totally okay. Like, he understands. He also has more of a realization that she's probably a lesbian, but he's not like forcing her to tell him or anything. He's just like, "I know why you don't want to be with men." But I'll let you tell me yourself. And oh, she has like two sisters. One of them is married, and she's obviously not having a good time in her marriage. And then the other one was seeing someone, and it was actually hella funny because the sister who's married, his brother or cousin came by, and he's obviously gay, but because the other sister and him got along, they were trying to pair them together, and she's like, "Yeah, we have so much in common that we like men." And this is when we find out that the other sister who's married thinks that gayness is a phase. And Tala's just like, "How terrible would that be to be married to someone who's gay? And you're not gay, and like for you to be strung along." And the sister's like, "Well, you would know." And this is what forces Tala to be like, "Shit, you're so right, sister." And this is when she breaks up the engagement. And I'm like, what else happens? Layla is also an inspiring author, so she's working on her book this whole time. And Tala and Layla see each other at this talk that Tala's parents sponsored about Jordan, which is where Tala was born. She is Palestinian. But as we know, the Palestinian diaspora is widespread because of Israel, unfortunately. So Tala's like, Layla, oh my God, the love of my life. And runs into her, quote unquote. But Layla's got a girlfriend all of a sudden. And Layla doesn't want to talk to her because she's like, oh, you're probably fucking married anyway, so whatever. Layla's sister, because she also has a sister, and Layla's ex boyfriend talk it over, and Layla's sister's like, no, Layla is in love with Tala. They're in love with each other, and we have to hook them up. And so, because the ex is like a friend of Tala's, he tricks them both into meeting up by saying, they're going to meet up with him. And the sister's there with her like overly obvious hat to see if they actually sit down and meet each other. And they do. And Layla asks Tala, like, well, okay. Layla finds out that Tala broke off her engagement. Layla asks Tala, did you tell your parents why you couldn't marry him? And she's just like, no. And that upsets Layla because she's like, I want to be openly involved with someone who, is gay. I don't want to be hidden away. I don't want to hide away. She wants to be loved in all caps. And, that upsets Layla, but she's like, I can't be with you. Even though Tala is like, no, but I love you. And even sends her later on, like, this whole bouquet and this, like, poem that's, like, obviously her pining for her and all this stuff. Really beautiful. Later on, like, even later on, Tala, no, Layla publishes her book. She's doing a book signing. Tala shows up. She tells Layla that she came out to her parents and that she still loves her. And Layla writes in her book, and Tala walks away with the book. And then in the book, it says, I love you, which is really cute. They meet up later. They're together. There's another sex scene. And at this point, Layla has her own apartment. She moved out. And it kind of ends there. It's so cute. And they're like openly gay in London. And Tala's like, we're going to need to get a bigger house because Layla lives in like a flat, just like a 1 bedroom. And Layla is like, why? And Tala's like, because I told my parents we would have children. And they laugh it off. And it ends there. And it's really cute. It's really wholesome. I mean, there's some like, not like bigotry, but like Layla's mom is definitely like casually racist towards a bunch of stuff. Tala's mom is just like not like a bitch. Like you would think she's a bitch because she has a servant who keeps wanting to spit in her drink, and that's just like a little behind the background thing happening, and she eventually does it. But honestly, I feel like Tala's mom doesn't see her servants as people, so I could see why she's getting that behavior. And I do want to watch the historical film with these two leads because they have very good chemistry with each other. Like, oh my god. Like, whoa. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. It was a cute movie. The chemistry between the two leads is phenomenal. I am wondering if the level of sex that happens in this is what happens in Heated Rivalry. Maybe I'll watch that eventually and talk about it. Who knows? But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at v_noir_. I'm finally posting on that again, my short reviews of movies in order to sort of have post and promote myself through Instagram. So I'm finally doing that. Starting from the past with like episode 0, and I'm working my way up to my latest post so I can be up to date. My archive website should be updated by Monday, I believe. So just look at my, if you're listening to this and it's not Monday the 9th of March in 2026, go to my YouTube channel instead, which is just Violet Noir 8576, I think. I mean, you can look up NWWITA on YouTube, and that should definitely pop up my YouTube channel, which is also an archive space for my YouTube. And I have a Patreon, patreon.com/VNoirs Film Club. I'm going to figure it out eventually. I feel like I'm not going to promote it until, I think I'm going to stop promoting it until I have built more of a following. And then I'm going to promote it. Otherwise, I think I'm going to post on it not behind the scenes, but just like my actual face and just smaller, shorter reviews that I won't talk about on the podcast. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye. Remember to drink water because I need to, because my voice sounds like I'm dehydrated. Bye.